Hello and welcome to Squib TV. I'm Samuel Layton and today I'm joined by Matt Glover, a man who's been on the credits for oh so long, but he's finally making his debut. Hello and welcome. This is Outsider's Opinion. Right, so Matt Glover, he's a keen NFL fan. He's been getting into it for the past couple of seasons, but he's more into it now. Watched a couple of games over the weekend. Any players that caught your eye?
Let's see. I'd say the standout game for me that I found most interesting to watch myself was probably Saints Vikings. Mm-hmm. For me, I have vested interest in it because I had Peterson in my fantasy lineup this week, and I was expecting big things against his former team in the last 10 years, and he did not deliver on that. He was swamped at every opportunity by a good Vikings defence. But on the converse of that, going for rookies, I'd say Dalvin Cook, standout player. Stephon Diggs had a good performance. I'd say the Vikings looking very strong going forward. Probably one of my favourite teams at the moment this year. Yeah,
so obviously you mentioned there Dalvin Cook. I believe he got some of one of the highest rushing yards.
Yeah, I think it was 247 yards he got. And on a debut, I think that was the highest since Peterson himself debuted back 10 years ago.
Right, so obviously Dalvin Cook's pretty much starting as he means to go on. Do you think that he's going to be a long-term replacement for Peterson? We talked 10 years, Peterson at the Vikings, probably one of the best running backs, if not the best running back. That's definitely of the modern generation. Do you think Dalvin Cook could reach those heights?
I think he's shown a lot of potential. I'd say the biggest thing, and I think there was a lot of off-field issues mentioned, and whether he could perform at the level with a sort of very holistic consideration for a lot of people. But I'd say no, yeah, he's showed promise, he's showed talent, he showed composure, I think, at the highest level, which is the main thing. He's gone in there and he's performed as a NFL running back from the start, and there's been no real jitters. He looked like a safe pair of hands. I'm a lot of promise going.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about off-field issues there. I mean, you've got to look at players like Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, top players in that position, going through the same issues. I think it's quite sad, but it's quite hard to find an NFL player at the minute who is a star, who hasn't had a few issues with. That's not to say that Dalvin Cook can't turn his career around completely. And I mean, it's his first game, and he's rushed really well. Surely he's going to let his player do the talking now. Mm-hmm. Another player I just want to quickly mention, because I know you talked about him, just briefly. Tariq Cohen looked really good. Yeah,
exciting player. He's been mentioned in a previous Squib video going recently featuring. Yeah, exciting player. Yeah. I think the Bears are going to rely on him a lot this season. There's not a lot of depth in that position, and especially the dual threat he can provide, sort of catching and running the ball. It'll be interesting to see how he performs and how defences will line up and deal with him, because he was a bit of an unknown going into the game, and a lot of hype coming out of the Bears in pre-season saying this is a guy that we think is going to be a big player for us, and obviously he's proved that with his first game.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me sort of the way he plays, a bit like Christian McCaffrey. I know McCaffrey made his debut as well this season, this week. But a guy who's a running back by name, but he's going to catch balls out the backfield. He's got a bit of speed, dual threat with Jordan Howard, and as James mentioned in the previous video, Bears really thin on the ground in terms of wide receivers. So Cohen could come in and can be an influential player for them. I want to talk about the Indianapolis Colts quarterback play. Andrew Luck is out. Scott Tolzien comes in, doesn't perform. Jacoby Brissett comes in after only being acquired 8 days prior. Does okay, does Jacoby Brissett. He's a young guy could come in. Could there potentially be anyone in free agency that you think potentially the Colts should have picked up?
Well, I'm smiling because everybody knows that I'm a big Colin Kaepernick fan. I'd say, I think it's just that thing of, I think he's a great player. He did well for me when I had him on the side last season, the fantasy, when he did come back into it. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding him, and more so for American fans with the protests for the national anthem and the flag, and I don't think that felt as strongly by people watching overseas. And for me, I just think to not take a talented player when there's teams that are clearly struggling for that position is just.
There's one thing I want to actually ask you about. You talk about the controversial kneeling for the anthem situation, which Caps obviously dealt with quite severely through the last season. Recently, Michael Bennett tweeted out that he was actually assaulted by a police officer leaving the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight, and Michael Bennett still was on the field, knelt for the national anthem, does not agree with the way that the police treat black men and women in the United States. Yet Michael Bennett doesn't receive any hate. People still want to sign him up. If Michael Bennett was released by the Seahawks tomorrow, he would have a new team by the time we woke up. I think, do you not think that maybe it's gone a little bit too far on Kaepernick now, and people just need to go, you know what, the guy's got his beliefs, can we just start him? I mean, you talk about teams like the Finns bringing in Jay Cutler. Why not go for someone like Kaepernick, who you know is a fresher face, brings a bit more to the game?
Well, I'd say even more on that, the fact that you mentioned Bennett, but in that situation, I'm pretty sure it came out now that there was a video showing that what he claimed to have happened when the altercation with the police officers wasn't actually what happened, and which makes it even more of a sort of a poor show of support.
Yeah, I think
it almost cheapens Kaepernick's trailblazing approach to it.
In which case, I think to say that if Michael Bennett's actually going to exaggerate what's occurred, that shows to me that his thoughts on the police and the situation in America are almost as strong, if not stronger than Cap's, if he's gonna sort of build up and maybe even lie about it. So I think if Michael Bennett's still welcome with open arms, Kaepernick should be. I think it's very disappointing that he's not in a team. And I mean, there's a number of teams out there that should be taking him. Another team I just want to throw into the hat, I don't know if you saw any of their game. Texans, one of the best defences in the league, start with Tom Savage. They drop him at half time. Tom Savage didn't look good. Deshaun Watson comes in. Deshaun Watson, a guy who can run, can throw, reminds me very much of a Colin Kaepernick type of player. Could have not signed someone like Kaepernick to nurture this guy?
I think it's a tricky situation. I mean, you touched on it already, saying about has he gone too far, and I think it's one of those things where people don't quite understand what's happening or the reasons behind it fully, and they listen to a lot of conjecture and rhetoric that's thrown on in the media, and they build up the idea in the head of what they think they should be saying and how they should be acting to be real Americans. But I'd say that Kaepernick, no, I back the guy 100%, and I think it's ridiculous that a man of decent stature in the NFL is being denied an opportunity when there's people a lot less talented, arguably, who are getting those starts. And yeah, I'd say that okay to go in as a sort of a more experienced figure for the younger people, but he shouldn't really have to do that in the first place. Yeah,
I think there's many arguments there that Colin Kaepernick should be starting in the NFL. I think that's probably about all we've got time for. Anything else you want to add quickly?
No, I think I'm for a first to go.
Well, anyway, yeah, that was an outsider's opinion. So if you enjoyed that, please let us know by liking, commenting and subscribing. Follow us and tweet us at Squib_TV. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.